For this week's First Chapter Friday, I'm going to be reading On a Wing and a Tear by Cynthia Leitich Smith. Full disclosure, I'm going to be cheating on this first chapter a little bit. The first chapter of this book's about 14 pages. It's good, don't get me wrong. It's just, I feel like it'll make this recording go a little bit long. So I'm going to cut it off about halfway through the first chapter. But you should definitely finish it because this book is getting more and more interesting by the page. This book is interesting because it kind of bounces between this fantasy story with animals and some realistic fiction with an actual Native American family. It's something different, pretty cool. I've never read this author before. This book was nominated for the Mark Twain Award for 2026-2027, and keeping with the pattern that we talked about, I am reading this one blind. So, without further delay, here is On a Wing and a Tear by Cynthia Leitich Smith. Chapter 1. Echo of the Past. Heskey, cousins, looky there at the furry little guy hugging himself in the hollow of an old oak tree. You hear his wet, steady snore? That's the great-grandfather bat, the one and only, the original, the bat who carries the mantle of winged rodent sports history. Not Bat Leaf Nose or Bat Big Ears or even Bat Brown. Nope, we're talking about Bat, the famous ball player, sometimes called the Wings of Victory. The animals herald him as a superstar, and the birds do too. Theirs is an age-old athletic rivalry, team animals versus team birds, stretching over 800 human generations, maybe more. For all those years, Bat has been numero uno, the reigning MVP. Not that the birds are holding a grudge, mind you. After losing the great ball game, the one talked about for generations, they were as gracious as they are graceful. But my, oh my, they've sure been longing for a rematch. What's that, you say? Before your time, huh? Maybe you're thinking there's not much more to Bat than his glory days. Hanging upside down, making celebrity appearances, and surfing the breeze in the loving glow of moon. But you'd best show some respect. Bat is an elder, as fast and strong as ever, or at least he will be once that right wing heals up. What happened, you asked? Now, don't you all fret. He has recovered, fine and dandy, from worse wing tears over the years and proudly shows off the scars to prove it. His latest rip is teeny tiny. Bat caught his stretchy dark skin on the top of a chain-link fence. But we don't want it getting any worse now, do we? And he doesn't either. That's why Bat, holed up all by his lonesome in the trunk of the nearest tree rather than risking the flight to snuggle with his kin in a crowded cave. He's cautious like that. It's one of the reasons he's lived so long. What's more, he was blessed by an act of neighborly generosity. From a nest in a walnut tree in the yard next door, Gray Squirrel had witnessed Bat's injury and his retreat into the oak. To help ensure his recovery, she'd scampered over a few times with gnawed-off scraps of a burlap shopping bag to line the hole in the trunk and keep him warm. Nope, she didn't have a clue that Bat was the Bat, but then again, it didn't matter. Gray Squirrel had been raised upright and understood the importance of looking after the community. All of which is to say, so long as Bat stays put and doesn't aggravate the tear, our old friend is going to be just fine. Fortunately for his recovery, the injury happened on a brief excursion toward the end of a mild winter, one of the warmest on record. This spring, when Bat crawls out of hibernation, he'll be rested, nearly healed, and almost ready for action. And that's saying something. Did you know that Bat can chow down 1,200 bugs an hour and can travel faster than 100 miles per hour? Fast enough to leave your uncle's res truck in the dust. Hey, have you ever gone walking in the woods? If so, you've probably heard the birds and animals sing songs of Bat. About how he's all heart, a multilingual eco-warrior, and a personal pal of Este Capco, who you might know as Bigfoot. Maybe you've heard Bigfoot sing songs about Bat too. Our friend Bat's got what you might call his Bat pride, calling his kin a camp of bats, a cloud of bats, or even a cauldron of bats, but never call them a colony. This is Bat's ancestral island, Bat's ancestral night skies. The bats made their home here long before y'all humans showed up. Yep, Bat is a wanderer, a wise and whimsical soul. He's also sure enough cozy, snoozing in that old oak tree in Chicago's Albany Park neighborhood. 4 weeks later, inside the red brick bungalow on that same property, Ray Half Moon was flipping pancakes for breakfast on the kitchen stove. It was less that he enjoyed cooking and more that he enjoyed eating. You see, Ray was verging on a growth spurt and hungry much of the time. In the living room, Grandpa Half Moon relaxed in a worn recliner, catching up on native nations and intertribal news on his phone, as well as local news on the TV. Ray could hear the morning anchors talking about the rise and fall of lake levels, the risk of flooding. Ray sent up a quick, quiet prayer of gratitude to the Creator for the glittery calm that morning in his own Albany Park neighborhood, partly bordered by the Chicago River and located to the northwest of the skyscrapers downtown. Outside, in front of his bungalow, street plows had pushed snow up 2 feet high, but that was business as usual for March in Chicago. Once satisfied by his culinary efforts, Ray slid the final pancake onto the 4th plate, used fresh blueberries and strawberries to top it with a smiley face, and then grabbed an aluminum pot and wooden spoon. Clang, 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 clang! Come and get it! Ray hollered. Clang, 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 clang! Pancakes! Stop that! Rang out houseguest Melanie Mel Roberts, covering her ears beneath a star quilt in the attic. Clang, 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 clang! It's Saturday, you monster! With a huff, Mel got up from the futon. Clang, 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 clang! She'd been having that terrible dream again. The one where she's trying to bead, but she couldn't make out the colors, and all the beads were rolling away from her. Clang, 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 clang! Mel stuck her head into the stairwell. That is so unnecessary. But fun! Ray tossed the spoon into a spin and caught it one-handed. Super fun. It's not like he'd always been a morning person either. In fact, Grandpa's old nickname for Ray had been Sleepy Bones. But to cut down on the before-school chaos of sharing the one bathroom, Ray had been getting up earlier to use it first. Descending the attic stairs, Mel's mom grinned. You'd think they always grew up together. She was a professor of education, someone who taught teachers how to teach, and she'd been grading college essays since dawn. The Half Moons were Cherokee and Seminole by heritage, and citizens of the Cherokee Nation, which was located within the borders of Oklahoma. The Robertses were Muskogee, Odawa, and French American by heritage, and citizens of the Muskogee Nation, likewise within Oklahoma. The families had hit it off last spring at the Dance for Mother Earth powwow in Ann Arbor, Michigan, when a filmmaker of the Tigwa people of Isla del Sur Pueblo had interviewed both Grandpa, who'd served in the Army, and Mel's mom, who'd served in the Coast Guard, for a documentary film about Native military veterans. Mel's mom rested a supportive hand on Grandpa's shoulder. You all right? Grandpa lowered his recliner footrest, pushing up to stand, and Mel's tabby cat hopped into his warm seat cushion. It's this blasted, beautiful world we're living in. We're still fighting to defend our land, and nobody else seems to know how to take care of it. Watch your screen time, she scolded gently. There's a reason we limit the kids. Both Mel and Ray had smartphones, but Mel's mom had used the settings to restrict their use of social media and other popular apps that she and Grandpa had decided weren't healthy. Last autumn, as the Roberts' lease was running out on their apartment in Kalamazoo, Michigan, Mel's mom received a last-minute offer to teach college in Chicago, and, long story short, accepted Grandpa's invitation for her and Mel to stay at his house. Mel had been grateful for a chance at a new beginning. She'd missed her auntie and little cousins in Kalamazoo, but ever since last winter, when Mel's best friend Emma moved to Lansing, Mel had felt like the odd one out at school. The fact that Emma's texts arrived less and less often over time hadn't helped any. The fact that her dad's texts and phone calls had gone from weekly to whenever was even worse. By the time Ray began serving breakfast, Mel had joined them at the kitchen table and said the breakfast prayer. Bless this mess. Amen. Amen, everybody said. After slathering her pancake in maple syrup, Mel took a bite, savored the sticky sweetness, and told Ray, You're forgiven for waking me up. This is epic, stupendous. You're the best breakfast maker ever. Ray laughed. You're the best breakfast eater ever. Unfortunately, the grown-ups failed to fully appreciate their joyful exchange. Despite the screen time observation, both adults kept watching the TV news as they were eating. Finally, Grandpa Half Moon said, This is a right fine meal, Ray. Watto. That afternoon, Grandpa went grocery shopping with the Robertses, and now that Ray was in middle school, he was allowed to stay home alone with the pets for short periods of time. On the family room window bench, he made a video call to Aunt Wilhelmina in Cherokee Nation. Ray said, "Grandpa says he likes to keep up with what's happening in the world, but a lot of the news is depressing. It wears on him." Aunt Wilhelmina had her phone propped on the coffee table while she knitted a bright red and white scarf on the sofa. The flickering light from the stone fireplace played across her round, thoughtful face. Her 50th birthday was coming up, and she was making scarves for the family and friends who'd be joining the celebration. "Your grandpa has a caring heart. You take after him in that way. Give it time, Ray. He'll find something else to occupy his mind." As Mel's tabby cat, Dragon, yawned on Ray's lap, Auntie nodded. "You did a good job of looking out for your elders, but, hun, it's only natural that your grandfather gets upset about terrible things. It's when people stop caring that I worry." She tucked her knitting behind a throw pillow. "Art can be healing and offer hope. That's why I knit. That's why your Uncle Leonard took up wood carving." A 5-inch tall figure of a wooden deer was displayed beside a hand-woven basket on her coffee table. "Why don't you show me what you've drawn lately? Maybe one of your latest pictures could cheer up your grandfather." Ray had given his grandpa a lot of drawings and paintings over the years. The refrigerator was covered with them, and a few had been framed and hung in the hallway. But Ray knew better than to argue, so he showed her his latest sketches of Dragon, of the soaring city skyline, and of Wrigley Field, where the Chicago Cubs played baseball.